Yay!
Yay!
Hello.
Hello. Is that still you? Well, like
It's
who?
still me.
And still anybody that it chooses to be me, right? Is this you, Jelaila? Is that
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Nice to meet
Hey.
you. You're beautiful. I've seen
Oh,
I've,
thank you.
I've seen your videos. I've watched you for a couple of years. Um, and so it's interesting that all of a sudden you are lighting up everywhere.
Wow.
Yeah. These are really interesting times, are they not?
Yes, very interesting.
Hey,
Well, I'm glad to
Judy,
be here
Hi,
with all of
Bob.
you. This is so exciting.
It
and
definitely is.
and Valerie. Hi.
Hey, Bob.
Hey, Valerie. So you and Jelaila know each other well, and Bob and I know each other
Yeah.
well, and we know each other, and now, and we had a conversation. Bob and I had a conversation that I found so amazing the other day that I asked him if we could share it, and he's like, "Sure, whatever." And he brought you up in the conversation. I'm like, "Yeah, I know who she is." And of course, you probably know the story because Valerie probably told you that she was listening. She's like, "Oh, wow." And then I spoke with her the same day you spoke with her in Washington, D.C. So really interesting things going on. So Bob, Jelaila,
Well,
you've not talked before. Welcome.
no, Jelaila. First off, I wanted to thank you. Early on, I had my big awakening back in like 1990, late 1988, I think it was. And there was no one. I mean, there was no one around, like to, confirm what I was seeing, what I was experiencing. And you were one of the first people that I came across. I was like, oh my God, this girl knows what she's talking about. I was like, I'm not crazy. Like and I had stumbled across you online. I think it was on the Nibiruan Council, but it was really really helpful that you had that information out so early
Well, it's interesting about the time you were trying to figure out whether you were crazy or not. I was still doing sanity checks myself, so we were in the same boat.
on. Yeah, the early days were a lot different than they are now.
Oh yeah, I mean, getting the not just the deer in the headlights, but seeing them like call 911.
And then being brave enough to stand up and put it out for everybody to take in. I mean, my goodness,
Well, I don't know if you know, I was a Jehovah's Witness at the time.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah,
That's a big leap.
It was like.
But you'd be amazed at how many Jehovah Witnesses are in our group, from different families, different places, but quite a few. Right?
Well, they're kind of out on the limb too. They kind of went out beyond Christianity themselves, so they're probably more.
Yeah.
I would say predispositioned for something like that.
They got some kind of. Is it true that it's more like a galactic? There is a galactic connection with them in a way.
I think from what I studied about them, and I haven't studied a tremendous amount. I think that there may be. Yeah.
Well, Bob, you would know, right?
Well, I always thought that the Jehovah's Witnesses was a harvesting center for star seeds.
That very well could be.
Yeah.
It seemed as though, I mean, I remember, and maybe it wasn't just the witnesses, but I remember going up to school, getting pulled out of class, and taken to this place where they would do all kinds of tests, lights, colors, and all this shit. And it was always like these really, really, really good always had and they would take all these.
You're really fading out, Bob. I'm not sure what's going on, but it's starting to get really difficult to hear you. Is that true for everybody else as well?
Yeah. Can you hear
there
me
he
now?
is. There
Yeah,
he
now,
is.
much
Much
better.
better.
There's Bob.
Hey.
Much better.
Can you back up
Yeah,
a sentence or two?
they would take me, and there was always like these really pretty, nice women. I remember I liked their perfume. I was only like from kindergarten. This was, and they always had my favorite candy, which were these root beer barrels. And they would take me to this place downtown, and I would go, and they would do all kinds of tests, like literal, like the psychic test where they hold up the card and what's this card, and uh, they had like they put these things on your eyes, and they shoot these lights, and you had to raise your hand, and all this other stuff that was going on. Um, so like I think that they flag certain kids and individuals at a very, very early age. And from the time that you get flagged, you get all kinds of organizations and groups and stuff that are recruiting after you.
Wow, that's interesting. Huh.
So
Wow. Well, here you are, O Star Seed One.
yes,
Yes.
Yeah. Back with family.
So, so Bob, exactly, and Bob and Heather have had a really, really strong ethereal bond, and their fates have been connected in this way for quite some time, which makes it even more interesting because I'd love to find out how you connected in with all of this too, Jelaila.
Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to talk about before we go into all that?
Well, like you mean like what's going on with anything you guys want to talk about, but I can't wait to find out what's going on with the Galactics and how they're seeing everything. And is it okay if I record and share this? I mean, it's recorded anyway, but I won't share it if I don't have opportunity to do that.
Well, I would like to reserve that decision till the end.
Absolutely. You're
Okay.
welcome to even listen to it privately and let me know if you want to go from there, if you want something cut out or whatever.
Okay.
Okay, cool.
Thank you for that.
Absolutely.
So do you want to just launch into that first, or?
yeah, let's go there.
Okay. Oh yeah, let's go there.
I think he's back at his 5-year-old self. This is perfect.
I know, it's like get your popcorn. All right. Let's see. Where do we begin? Let me bring you up to date.
Cool.
First of all, the mission that I was sent to do ended in 2006. I had completed all the templates that they wanted done, and that was my mission. My mission was to bring the information about the Galactic past, because we're replaying that now. And at the time, this is 20 years ago, we would have to create templates for the grid for the final days of the worlds that were destroyed, the events, the prejudices, the conflicts that were going on, and so that they could be played out with the possibility of a compassionate and successful conclusion, which would eventually culminate in the integration and completion of the universal game of polarity integration, if you will. So we would ascend, but not only we would ascend, we would finish the universal game.
Wow.
We failed other times. We failed in the Lyra system, our first human homeworld. We failed at Sirius B, at the destruction of Sirius B in the Pleiades. We failed there. When we failed, finally, the last big event was Maldek. So over the course of 10 years, I was guided to do workshops in certain locations, and they said, don't worry, we will send the right people who are involved in that timeline. You'll recreate that event. You'll open up the timeline. You'll create the event. You'll hopefully get to the point of compassion, shift that, and then seal it up and move on. So we did. The final one, which is interesting, which we're playing out now with Heather Tucci, was in Escondido, California. And it was between, and I'm just going to fast forward, okay? Was with the between the Orion Council, the Dragons, which let me back up for a second, explain to you the position of the reptilians in the galaxy and in the universal game. All four main primary races, human, bird, which is the carrion people, the bird people, humans, and reptilians. The carrions were the parent race of the dragon people, the reptilian people. The dragons were the top echelon of the reptilians. White dragons being equivalent of the Melchizedeks, their priesthood, and their science is their religion. They, now this is as I understand it, okay? So this, in this game, their prime directive was to be the police force of the universe. In that capacity, the responsibility was for the good and the safekeeping of all the planets, cosmos, galaxies, whatever. If they were to come across any species on a planet, they had two choices. They can, if they were copacetic, they were symbiotic to the planet, they could leave them alone. Or if they found that they were not symbiotic with the planet, they could either enslave them or annihilate them. So now the humans and the dragons or the reptilians were kind of like the child races, the two primary races, and we didn't always get along. Humans have this strange little quirk called emotion. Totally flips the lids on all the reptilians because they're extremely logic. It's like the equivalent of Captain Kirk and Dr. Spock. So, Spock would give Captain Kirk that weird look, like, you're just not logical. You just, make no sense. And in their world, everything is perfection. In their world, imperfection is equivalent of annihilation because if you cannot be perfect, you cease to exist because you have no value. So in the human world, we value imperfection, right? We value the gray zone. So you can see how these two have to learn how to dance together, and they'll have to learn to value each other's differences. So at the end of the templates that we did for all of the worlds, and there are all those timelines now, we were told will be played out during this, what they call the Summer of Blood. This is what I was told not long ago. After 10 years of being in hibernation, just maintaining the templates and kind of backing off from touring, I stopped touring, stopped doing the conferences, everything. At the end of 2010, I was told I could stay home and work on me. And so I went into semi-seclusion. So now I'm coming out of seclusion. And you guys are the first story that was presented for me to come out of seclusion. I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
Woo! Welcome back out.
Okay. So in this last template at Escondido, we had worked on all these timeline events, and now we were down to Maldek. Maldek was the last template. It was the last destroyed planet. And that was where the humans in the Federation had to stand before the Orion Council. They were losing the war. And the Orion Council was saying, okay, here's the deal. The reason that we enslave you is because you refuse your young race. We are the youngest of all the races, of the four major races. And you have yet to take responsibility for this quirk called your emotions. If you don't like something, you get upset, you destroy it. And we can't have that because we can't control that. If we can't control it, we have to enslave it or annihilate it. Okay, that makes sense. So he said, you go with your group, and you come back to us with something that will give us the what we need to be able to release you and give you back control of your lives. And what that means is that you're willing to be responsible for yourselves. So in this template, I played the head of the Orion Council, which I usually don't play the dragon in these templates. So this was a very interesting experience. So the entire group of people went off into another room, and they came back 3 times. Well, they were making demands. We want this, we want that, with that. No, go back again. Third time, come back. Okay, we get it. We agree to be responsible for our emotions. And if we do not, if we do something to damage the planet, if we do something that can harm, then we agree that you have the right to annihilate us. And we will not bitch. And we will not seek revenge. That's exactly what the Orion Council was looking for. To be willing to take responsibility for your power. So that ended that template. It was done. The humans were given back their power and their rights, and the Orion Council knew that they had what they needed. So if anything should happen to that planet and they go and annihilate them, then they're not to blame. Make sense?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Jelaila, so, what is the time frame for that? When was that?
That one was done in 2006.
Very good. Thanks.
2004. I have to go back and look. 2004. It's the recording for it is not, because it's all in DVDs. I had the recording for that entire workshop, but it's in DVDs, so I don't have it available. But it was very powerful. But I did do a write up on the website. Oh, it was in 2005. I'm sorry, the end of 2005.
So what when that was done. Up until then, even the way that we were back in 2005, we were handed back our power. We were handed back responsibility. We took responsibility.
We created templates so that humanity could retrieve their power if they were willing to do certain things. Mm-hmm. And that one is that they had to take responsibility and ownership for that power, and therefore any consequences of the misuse of that power.
Right. And I'd love to hear, maybe at another time here, how this template thing works. How many templates are we talking about? It sounds like there are lots of templates going on here.
Yeah, my job was basically to bring the knowledge of how to activate the thymus to achieve the compassion that would create the neutral point, which basically zeroes out polarity.
Yeah.
And recode your DNA.
Awesome.
Because the Nibiruans were the ones who disassembled your 12-strand DNA. Used to be 12-strand DNA, and they encrypted it to where it could not be reassembled by any off-world race. And that was after the Tower of Babel. So that's another story.
Wow, that makes such good sense.
Back to the tape, because we weren't mature enough. We weren't spiritually mature enough. Right. We were like prodigies, and we could be used because we were naive.
Yeah.
And there was many races who claimed parentage with us because they offered their DNA when the Nibiruans created the first humans, the first Adapas. We were a mixture of races. So many of them said, well, they got our DNA, so we have a right to go down there and talk to them and, and manipulate them into doing things they wanted, you know. So our parent race, the Nibiruans, said, no, you're not anymore. We're going to decrypt it. We're going to scatter their DNA. We're going to encrypt it, and you can't recompile it until, we'll give them back the codes to recompile when the time comes. And that time was 1996. So in fall of this time of 1996, actually close to it anyway, is November of 1996 when they gave us the formula of compassion to recompile the DNA. Huh. So back to Escondido and this template. With that template, we now had something in the grid. So in the future, someone could come along and begin the process of reclaiming the power of humanity back from the dragon people who have been, keeping it. They've been keeping it basically because we weren't ready for it. And it would have to be one of their own, because no one would know the inside of that system better than a dragon, right?
Right.
And it would have to be a very high level queen, because in the dragon world, the queens rule.
Indeed.
I'm totally goosebumped. Wow.
Me too. I am just lit up. Every single one of my
You
cells.
are connected right now.
I'm sorry?
I said you're connecting a lot of dots.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to leave you to figure out who that dragon queen is.
Oh, I know who it is.
Okay. And the Matrix. So here's the thing: the way that when the dragons decide that okay, they're not going to annihilate a species, but they're going to put them into a slave colony. They're going to make them slaves, which they do all over the universe, guys. They have millions of slave colonies. Okay,
Wow.
they don't create a physical fence; they create a frequency fence.
Sure.
Okay, that's what we call the Matrix.
Sure.
We live in a frequency fence. And they control our minds because they control the programming of our minds. And they do it through the media, they do it through food, they do it through what? They do it through heart. They do all these things to control our version of reality. So they make us believe that it's this way when it's really not this way. And the movie The Matrix, when it first came out, it was like, oh my God, there it is. They're telling everybody,
right.
This is The Matrix. And Neo, yes, the bullets are not real. Right?
Right.
And the man in charge of the Matrix was what? A blonde-haired human, because they always used the humans as front man because we won't fear the human where we would fear seeing a dragon back there. Okay? They're not stupid. That's how they do it. So anyway, so where was I? I tend to get off on tangents, so you have to bring me back.
I don't know. We like your tangents so much, it's hard to find
it. Okay. So where we are right now is just a few weeks ago. I still get messages. I mean, I hadn't heard from the council very much in the last 10 years. They kind of stepped back and let me do my own thing, and they would check in every so often. And, my job was just to maintain what was done and keep supporting the people and start going to doing videos and stuff on a website, right? So that's what I've been doing. And, but just about 3 months ago, maybe 2 months ago, I got this message that, it's time to begin again. They said, you're getting ready to go into, and so the messages started downloading almost like every 3 days. I get a new message. And just not long ago, and you'll see it in the post I did, Are We Ready? I received a message from the council saying you're getting ready to go into the final days of the timelines, and it's called the Summer of Blood. And this is when all the worlds ended up hitting their wall and destroying themselves in nuclear holocaust. Yeah. And you're not just playing out the timelines of one, you're playing out 4 sets of timelines. So it's going to be maddening when it says in the Bible, which, we can talk about what that really is at another time. It says at the end times, people would literally be losing their minds. It would be so intense. Well, do you think that's what's happening?
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. So it's all happening now. They said if you survive the Summer of Blood, you will have made it. And the Summer of Blood ends at the end of September.
Wow.
Okay. They said to survive that, you would have to have 3 presidents, 3 leaders stay alive and work together and avoid a 3rd World War. Those 3 leaders are souls prepared for this job. They signed up for this job. They've had a lot of experience at this type of thing. And they are Vladimir Putin, Xi Jinping of China, and Donald Trump.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. And they would have to work together and keep their own governments from overthrowing them and starting a war. This would be the final test. And if the people could rally together, the ones who were enlightened, to hold the point of neutrality, which means all this has to play out for us to finally put it behind us. So the dark will ultimately serve the light. The dragons will set it all up to where we will play out all the events. And then those of us who are awakened will have to be smart enough to figure it out, to hold a neutral point so that we could lead the rest of the people through it. And
Jelaila, could you explain a little bit what you mean when you say hold the neutral point?
Hold the point of compassion.
Perfect. Okay.
Which means compassion is all everything has a purpose. Everything has a value. The dark ultimately serves light. There is no real bad guy or good guy. Right. We are simply all souls playing roles for our collective soul evolution. So we're playing out a game.
Yes.
It's a game. It's called a game of polarity integration, the integration of light and dark and all its aspects. And we've been playing this game all the way. That's the universal game for this universe. It's not the same. Other universes don't have this game. They have different games. This is our game. And we started in the Lyra system, and we're finishing here. We are the third Earth. We are the third attempt to complete the game. We've been through Atlantis, we've been to Lemuria, we've been through Maldek, we've been through Evian, we've been through Sirius B, we've been through all these attempts, all these other times and other places. But maybe, I think we're making it. We're definitely going to make it. I asked them, I said, we're going to be successful. And they said, oh yeah, by the skin of your teeth.
Woo!
They have a sense of humor.
Wow. It really does feel like we're in the birth canal right now. It feels like
we are in a birth canal.
Yeah.
Yes.
It really does.
Yes.
We're talking the exact same language. So many of us now, and we're connected so hugely throughout this whole planet and multidimensionally, all of us.
Yes. So let me tell you about the importance of the treasury of the TDAs.
Okay.
Okay. So, well, first of all, let's talk about the RB for a minute. Okay, yes, that is part of it. That is when we get some of our rewards, and we rebuild the planet with that money. We restore. We're starting a new reality. All the old timelines are done. We're closing that book, and we're starting a new one. Okay?
Yeah.
And the funds will be available to create the heaven on earth, right?
So we're actually going to play with money.
Huh?
So we're actually going to play with money.
And not in the form that we're doing now.
Okay.
But in every society, there's going to be one that to make things work and flow beautifully, there's always going to be some form of agreed upon exchange.
Okay.
Whether it's tulips or crystals or gold or whatever it is, you're going to have something to expedite commerce.
Okay.
Okay, because we're not going to go sit on clouds and eat kumquats all day. We're going to rebuild, but we're going to have it easier.
Yeah.
We may not have paper money, but we'll have digital credits.
Or we'll be able to use like replicators or become the replicators ourselves, being able to tap into the space-time continuum of us knowing that it's us, creation and non-creation. Are we ready?
But here's the part that we have to keep in mind, though. If we're going to keep the planet intact and we're not going to split off into two Earths, which really isn't going to help the souls staying behind. Uh-huh. If we're going to keep the planet intact, which would allow them to accelerate as well, okay, we're going to have something for them.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
Not for us, but for them.
Okay. So we do get to all kind of hang out in the same space, but in slightly different frequencies in the same octave. Is that what you're saying?
Sort of like that. The way that they explained it to me years ago was that it's like there will come a point when the dimensions will manifest so fully. The higher dimensions will manifest so fully. The 5D, the 9D, the 7D, whatever. Mm-hmm. And they will be able to communicate with each other, but the ones below them won't be able to communicate with them as much. Now that doesn't mean that you won't see them on the road, but it's like their reality will be so different than yours that you won't have much to talk to them about.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the hard part will be that you'll have family like that.
Yeah. I get
and
that.
It's like you love them, but that you just don't communicate anymore.
Right. Sorry.
Okay, that's keeping the world together. That's keeping the Earth from splitting off. We don't want that.
So a lot of people do think that that's the thing that's happening, and honestly, I didn't know. To me, that's what I thought was happening. So what is it about that we don't want, and how come why is it that we have that narrative a lot? I mean, we have a lot of narratives right now.
Well, because there were so many probabilities of how this could turn out.
Yeah.
you know,
True.
that any of them could have been valid.
Yes.
Any of them could have been valid. And you know what? I'm telling you what the option A is that they're going for.
Okay.
Option D or C might be this. Would be actually the E would be the splitting of the Earth into two full versions, and leaving a whole bunch of people behind. It's like the Titanic, and they left the second and third class behind.
Right.
We don't want them to go down with the ship.
Gotcha.
We don't want them to end up in a slave colony, because they are our family. They're our children. Do we really want to leave them behind?
No, actually not. But what I was told about why that was happening was because some were actually descending to have the denser experience, like, you know, because it's part of the game, and they're going down into the game while some of us are coming up out of the game. And that's why I didn't find that to be a difficult thing. And that was kind of the splitting of how that works. But if that's not the case, I'm interested to know what the other versions are.
Well, what you have, Jan, is a very good possibility as it stood 10 years ago.
Okay.
That's what they were thinking back then. That's what it looked like was happening back then.
Oh.
See, everything updates.
Yeah, no,
I think it was 2013.
Okay.
We
all made the decision that no one would be left behind.
Right. And that feels best to me no matter what anyway. So.
Right. So they're still going to have their version of 3D and challenges to face, but they don't have to what we're doing now. We have evolved so much, and we've made so many good choices now, that we've gone from an option E to an option A.
Yeehaw. Totally understand what you're saying.
And with an A, what will happen is that we won't leave them behind and in a slave colony. We will let them continue to evolve, but they won't have to evolve in a slave colony.
Will they experience us? How will they experience us? Will it be like Ascended Master kind of stuff, or will it?
No, they will still see us. Well, they'll see us, but they won't see us. It's like if you have it's like everybody knows, let's see, let me think of somebody. What's the guy that owns Microsoft?
Oh, Steve Jobs?
Okay, no, that Microsoft.
Oh.
Bill Gates.
There you go.
Bill Gates. Everybody knows Bill Gates, right? How many of you see him? How many of you visit him? How many of you talk to him on the phone?
Right.
It's like that.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Right.
Yes.
So known, but not necessarily a physical part of your reality. Right.
Yes, exactly. How many of you have relatives that you haven't seen in 30, 40 years?
Yes, I have.
See, I'm old enough to say that.
Yeah.
Some of you are still young pups. But
thank you.
but you know, I'm 60 years old, so I've got.
We're none of us young pups here.
No. Bob's younger than I am.
Although you would never know by looking at our pictures.
Oh, yeah. Love
true.
that Photoshop. Anyway.
No, go ahead.
No, I understand. What I see, Bob, that is real you, and you look awesome. You do. And Jan, I saw your picture a while back. You are such a lovely lady, and of course, Val's always my sweetheart. I met her.
Valley.
I met her at a workshop and got to know her a little bit, and just I just had a heart connection there. Yeah. Anyway, so back to so do we understand what the option A is?
Yes. And it's funny because I was getting almost exactly the same messages, about the retribution, about compassion. You're connecting so many dots right now. I don't want to interrupt you, so continue.
Right.
Okay. So, and the other side, they are so thrilled that we have made this many jumps. I mean, this is what I came to the templates for, because they basically allow the soul to tap in so that your higher self to tap in and pull from those, so you get these impressions of aha moments of inspiration coming out of these templates. And I'm not the only one who's created templates. All of you have come and created templates as well.
Definitely.
So humanity is making some really massively major awesome jumps. And we're going up from an E or an F to an A. All right. So back to the matrix and the TDAs. It was important that before we access the RV funds, that we reclaim ourselves out of the matrix. To do that, we had to accomplish 3 things. Number 1, we had to achieve compassion. We had to learn how to activate the thymus and achieve that near orgasmic feeling of compassion, where you realize the dark is simply playing a role. Right. You know, it's not about, you're not a victim. You're the co-creator of this drama, and you realize now that you are the creator God. Yes. Part of this drama. You're not a 3D human who's a victim of somebody else. You co-create everything. You are a creator. Right. Indeed. And we are all souls playing roles, and they suffer just like we do.
That's right.
Okay, so that's the moment you achieve compassion. That's when you hit that neutral point, because you realize everything has to happen. Everything has a value, it has a purpose, and game on. All right. That's number 1. That would allow you to exit the matrix on a spiritual level. Then on a physical level, you had to reclaim your birthright. You had to reclaim your birth certificate. Mm. So you're reclaiming your identity, your physical identity, that you are alive. Okay, you are not your straw man. So that was what all the UCC stuff was about. The third thing is you had to reclaim your financial sovereignty, and that's what the TDAs are for. Wow. So when Heather, oh great queen that she is, created the factualized trust, she gave us one of the most powerful instruments possible.
You know that the whole Queen story, I've actually told that story only to Judy.
That's true.
Judy, yes.
I told that story to Judy of what I saw when I was in Morocco, and what each of them, what race each of them, and that was one of the biggest surprises for me. It didn't scare me because I saw her in her true form.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't scare me at all because she was beautiful. It was like,
oh yeah, the dragon queens are quite awesome. They are quite awesome. I feel sorry for any of those government officials that are having to deal with her. She'll have them wet in their pants. She is pretty formidable. When I saw a picture of her, a video of her on her front porch, and I'm like, oh my God, they have no idea what they've got in that prison. Right. They're going to eat their lunch.
Each of the 3 of us have spent time with her physically. So it's really interesting because you know who she is. I wish I could see and know as clearly about all of this as you do. I guess there's a good reason why I haven't yet, but
I've never met her in person, but just listening to her and seeing her picture, I'm like, oh, there she is.
Oh yeah.
I wondered who it was going to be. And so she's giving us the biggest piece. So to get out of the matrix, we have to reclaim all 3 parts. We have to earn the right through figuring out the compassion thing and changing our DNA. But at least being able to achieve compassion, because we understand how to activate the thymus on the higher level, because the thymus is the key
to altering DNA.
Can you talk a little
bit more about that, the thymus?
Yeah. I will in a second, if I can finish this part first.
Absolutely.
That's okay. So we had to do the physical, the spiritual, and the financial. And then the bullets are no longer real. And so she is providing the final piece at this point. And only those with eyes to see and ears to hear will do it. Not everybody's going to walk out that door. And that's okay.
So are you saying that each of us needs to get our birth certificate back from...
Mm-hmm.
We do. Okay. What were you going to say, Bob?
I was going to say that's what was done with the UCC filings.
That's what I was wondering. Okay.
Yes. The One People's Trust. Right.
Right.
Okay. I am not 100% clear, because it may change, that we need to do it on a personal level as well.
Okay.
Just filing that paperwork. And it's funny, Ginger found it. The gal by the name of Ginger, she said, you got to go here and you got to get this document. You got to send it to your state of birth and then to one other state. And I don't know which of those three. I have to find out what that is. But it's a formality. It's part of you reclaiming yourself. So Heather does it for us on a global level.
Right.
And then we can take that final step and do it on a personal level. If it's only the case of getting something notarized and sending it in, I don't know. Maybe you do what you want to do, what you feel you need to do about that.
Yeah, just curious about, what your sense of that was. Of course, thank you. I appreciate that.
So that's where we stand. Go ahead.
One question. So how do things look from the Galactic perspective past the end of September?
Blank slate.
So that's up for us to write.
Yes.
Okay. And there's one other question I wanted to ask. You answered you confirmed every message I've gotten in the last couple months, except for one. One was that Source was providing like a 2,000-year vacation for us.
If you want it. You can if you want. I personally want to stay, and I have family here. I'm
not talking about leaving here. I'm talking about
a 2,000 vacation. Yeah, it's going to be a working vacation. We're going to be creating heaven on earth.
Yeah, there you go. That's exactly. Yeah, we're going to be the architects of the new creation.
Yes, and you're going to see the funding and for all the new technologies come in. And the thing to remember is that not everybody is going to be ready to embrace all that. Right. Because it's not part of their path yet. So you're still going to have the diehards. They're going to because that's just like I said. It's their soul is here for another purpose. So they'll hang on to versions of the old reality that work for them, and that'll be okay. It's like people who watch reruns of Tom and Jerry, or I Love Lucy. It's okay.
And so at that point, we will truly be physically in a multidimensional reality. I mean, we are now, but it'll become a lot more visible.
Right, because the moment that you have access to unlimited funds, you're in a new reality.
Right.
You're there.
Sure.
You are there. Your lifestyle, your way of thinking totally changes. You've arrived.
What's interesting is that, Randy had a glimpse of that for a moment. His moment lasted about a week, and Heather, made mention many times that he got ahead of everything. Mm-hmm. He plunged ahead, which is so interesting that now we're talking in this kind of sense that so one being, and maybe even more than one, experience that, and so that's out there. I mean, that's out there for the collective to bring down and to pull into their reality as they choose to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what? The thing, everything has eventually will serve a good purpose. But one thing I learned years ago when I first started, they kept saying, walk, don't run, because you get ahead of things and you make it harder for yourself and, for us, because we're still putting the pieces together. This should be a flow, and you keep running up against walls, and we have to keep peeling you off, and we're getting a little tired of that. So, and then you get all dejected and you get sad because you think we're not here, and we're like, oh, please. So, slowing down, doing it methodically, which the dragons are very good at that. And interestingly, it was a dragon telling someone else to slow down. It's going to lead you into a wall. And so he experienced the repercussions of not waiting until the door was completely opened. He got smacked in the face by it. But even that will serve a purpose.
Right. So go ahead.
So what that tells us is get your paperwork in order. Do your step by step, reclaim yourself. Take your time and do it properly. And walk out of the matrix.
Walk, do not run.
Yes.
I always likened it to people lining up at the amusement park 4 hours before it opens.
Yeah. And that's kind of where we are. We're lined up, and some of us are jumping the line. Some of us are climbing the fence.
So what is going on with the energies right now of this this portal that we're in, this series of portals that we're in all at once right here, with the Lion's Gate and the two eclipses? This energy is just super, super thick and powerful and energized. I would love to hear how that is affecting all of this.
Okay, we'll give you an interesting perspective, okay?
Cool.
All of those timelines were woven into Earth's timeline so that the souls could incarnate here. When the Lion's Gate opens, you're feeling the energies of all those timelines pouring through that portal. So you're getting the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, the ugly. All of it blowing through there. And we're feeling every bit of that on this planet right now. Yeah. It is utter chaos of all kinds.
So the Mandela effect has a lot to do with this as well. This is the collapsing of all of the different timelines into one.
This is, they've all been merged into here, and then we're playing out there. It's like they turned on. Okay, so imagine there is a gateway on each one of those old worlds, okay? And there is a sentinel standing there, and he's a fireman, and he's got a hose.
Yes.
Big ass hose, okay? And he's opened that thing all the way, and out of that is coming all the emotion, all the memory of everything that ever happened on that world, especially toward the very end. And all of those sentinels, all four of those sentinels, are pouring that energy down that gateway onto Earth. And we're all, and it's hitting our grid, and it's spreading out over our grid like a tsunami. And we're all immersed in it.
Which is why finding yourself in that 0 point energy and neutralizing all of it in that compassion state is essential.
Right, because meditation alone doesn't do it anymore. Because if you can't, if you don't know how to access the neutral point, the point of compassion, you can sit there and meditate, but you're still feeling all these energies. You haven't neutralized any of them. You're just escaping them. You're getting out of your body for a period of time.
Right.
But you come back in and your body's still immersed in them. But you have this amazing little gland called your thymus that is basically an incinerator. and it incinerates all negative polarity of all kinds. And it is, as Greg Braden wrote in his book, it's the one frequency. Compassion is the one frequency that alters DNA from carbon to crystalline. They've proven it. And so you have this ability to neutralize polarity and experience the null zone, the point, the void. You just basically create the void, and then your body calms down. So meditation, awesome, but do it with that in mind. Take whatever is you're feeling in your body, and thinking everything has a purpose. Whatever memories come up for you is what you're claiming out of that, massive amount of energy and emotion that's being poured onto the planet right now. You're picking out your own pieces because like attracts like.
Right.
And you're looking for the value in all that.
So what I've been being shown and have been toning out to folks on conversations and also some tarot readings that have been coming through is that they're coming in waves. These are energies that are coming in waves, and they're dressed in different clothing, but it's the same energy, and it just wants to be acknowledged, loved, neutralized without the dialogue, without blame, without the story around it at all, but the feeling of it, the allowance of it fully felt within the body, and then loved into wholeness is what I keep calling it.
And that's exactly what we did in all those templates we did. But we did it on specific events. We had to open up the timeline and feel all those feelings and then bring them back into a place. I mean, we were at each other's throats during the workshop. It was all under the guise of a workshop. We didn't know what we were going to be working on. I didn't know who was going to show up. I'm still going, okay, is this really real? Did I give up my life for this? And sure enough, these people would show up, and we'd figure out what we're doing. And boom, a timeline event would drop into our consciousness, and we would all figure out who we were and who some of the other people in the workshop were. And so I'm like, oh, there you are again.
Wow.
It really wasn't very pleasant until we got to the point of compassion, and we shifted, and everybody saw everybody else's role and why this all had to happen. And we healed. We were like in this wonderful, at the end, we were all hugging each other and thanking each other. And we were on this amazing high that you get when you feel to that point of neutrality. It's like all the weight of the judgment and the anger and the fear just drops off you, and you just fly. You're giddy with it. And they all experienced it as a group, so that when all of them left, they could say, did that really happen? All they got, there's 20 people there they can call. It goes, yeah, that happened. Mm-hmm. That happened. And it changed their lives forever.
Yeah.
So we all have that ability. That's the beauty of a human.
Yeah.
We can achieve compassion. Do you know we're the only race that can?
Is that right?
Because we have a fully developed emotional field. Not a partial, fully.
That's fabulous.
That's why we are the hope of the universe.
Wow.
Our destiny is to become the peacekeepers. And to do that, we have had to fight through all of our fears and find the point of compassion. Yeah. We had to remember who we are and take on all of the pain and suffering of our ancient ancestors and integrate all of it.
That's right.
And neutralize all of it. We will have earned the right to step out there in the galaxy as peacekeepers, because we will have shown we can integrate pretty much anything you throw at us. Just bring it on.
That's right.
And
we got it.
And I believe that we've done that in sufficient enough numbers this time. Like, for the first time, we've actually done that in sufficient enough numbers.
That's why they're looking at option A now.
Wow.
So, on the back.
Thank you.
And now, if we can go to the next step, there's a next step. We have to come together. And I see that happening. I see people talking about it. No more of this guru's right or that guru's wrong, or, get away. Actually, it's this step that has to be done before the RV money gets into our hands, is to claim our financial and physical ownership. If we do that, then, we're free. We're truly free. And then we can truly create that heaven on earth. If you get those funds while you're still in Matrix, there's a chance they'll be taken and used against you. Mm-hmm. So if there's enough of us that can get out that door, it won't take a whole lot.
Right.
We'll be able to avoid that. So that's the last little pitfall we've got to avoid. And this coming together, working together as groups, having bigger and bigger, conference calls with more and more people who are bringing pieces to the table. That's how we do it. We centralize, if we can, as much of the TDA people as possible to work together. So I see a lot of that happening. I see Tank and Bob and Jermaine and all these people coming together and doing calls. Mike O'Brien, isn't he another one? Philip Tilton. All these people bringing the pieces of the puzzle that they have to bring, because we each have pieces to bring, and sharing them on the same call. Do you realize how quickly that gets information out there?
Well, that's really interesting, because I just tried to get in touch with Mike O'Brien a little earlier today, and because another person said, I think you need to. At the same time, I'm thinking I need to, because he said something and it triggered something in me that was like, oh, I have to talk with him then. And then a couple of others. So that is definitely going to happen.
And Judy, maybe that's your job.
Maybe so.
Your job is to lasso all these people and bring them together to do these conference calls so that, millions can be a part of it.
Yeah.
The faster and more efficiently that we can deliver information. So a person doesn't have to sit through 9 hours of conference calls a day.
Yeah. Oh, very interesting. Okay.
And everybody's, like I said, I'm not going to bring the how-tos on the TDA. You've got Bob, you've got all these people who have got that down.
Yeah.
All right. I will bring. This is why we're doing this, guys. I'll be part of the cheerleading section. Cheering them on. Option A, option A, option A. Get out that door. Because I promise you, there's going to be a trap. That the dragons will have one last trap. It's basically one last test. And I don't know what number of us needs to be out that door. All I know is they're saying, get out that door.
What do you mean when you say that door? So
out of the matrix. Okay. Get out of the matrix. Reclaim your body, your soul, and your mind, and your finances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because unless you have all of them, the bullets will still be real for you in one way or another.
Yeah.
So it can give you millions of dollars, billions of dollars, like with the Zim. But that can also take it from you if you're still in the matrix.
Right. So this compassion that's rising everywhere on this planet to the tune of waking people up left and right. I'm hearing so many people talking about how their experience now with others in the real world or the old real world is becoming very different now, because a lot of people are starting to have conversations they never had before. What were you going to say, Valerie?
I'm so excited. That's all I got.
But what I'm hearing is that a lot of people are experiencing something very different, and that lots of everyday people are having this conversation, or having conversations that are awakened, enlightened conversations, getting there anyway. So to me, what that's saying is that is, I see a whole field energized, vibrating more quickly, raising more light quotient, so that what we think we know of as reality has to change, because it's no longer in the lower frequencies. The whole higher frequencies that we're moving into has a broader spectrum of magic that we get to play with, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so that's why I'm wondering about the physicality. It's funny because I'm finding a little bit of a lockdown for whatever reason. It'd be interesting to find out what that's about. But when it comes to having to actually, for me to do the birth certificate, it's almost like I know that other people are taking care of that, so that I don't have to, because my job is to do this, what I'm doing, which is working in the energies. Those,
Me too, Judy.
Yeah. And I'm doing a little bit of both. I'm doing a lot of the toning because I'm having a lot of conversations, and I feel like I'm a neuron, a big neuron, floating this light out and through thousands and thousands, if not millions, of people.
So is that a question or a statement?
That's a good question, or a statement. But I forget whether it was a question or a statement, so we'll just have to leave it there until I remember. But I guess what I was saying is that it feels like, is it going to shift us out of even what we can understand about what reality is as we raise everything, everybody raises? Like, I can see things becoming art really quickly, and when things become art really quickly and people start doing what they love, and that starts raising vibrations everywhere, things are starting to be created in that kind of frequency and that kind of love, everything shifts so exponentially. That's how I'm seeing it. Does that make any sense to you?
In a way, yes.
Okay. But I'm like way too fast, or
well, it's a lovely thought. It's a lovely thought.
There's a lot of things that people don't really connect. Things that happen physically here on Earth that people don't necessarily connect as being necessary, because there's, like, for instance, way back, I think it was like in 2008 or so, there was that big, huge tsunami and like what, 250,000 people crossed over.
Yeah.
Immediately after that event, millions of people all over the earth started sending donations. They had that by texting a certain number. And within hours, all of this compassion from all over the world came flooding into Gaia. The same thing happened at 9/11. A lot of these tragic events really triggered that compassion in people.
Right.
And I think a lot of the things that are being exposed, like the pedo gate and the pizza gate and all of these, human trafficking and slavery and all these terrible things, it has purpose. It number one, it exposes what is, to make all of these things visible to everyone. But it also invokes, for those who are aware of these things, this compassion for all of the perceived victims. And I say perceived victims because nobody, like I said, nobody really is a victim. Victimhood is a complete mental thing that we do with ourselves, but it all has a purpose. It all serves a purpose. And when you keep that larger view, which is one of the things that Heather talks about a lot, keeping that broader perspective, where you'll see that everything is perfectly done.
Right.
That we're not, we are beyond a lot of the parameters that were held for us. We've outgrown in the past, I would say, 5 years, since 2012. Okay? We've grown so much and surpassed a lot of the quote-unquote limitations that were first imposed upon us. And humanity, as they're growing that, we're going to see a lot of this this energy that's been being poured into people actually manifesting into fruit in the next couple of years. And as I was told, by the year 2021, if things continue at this same rate, we will fully be in the new world, quote unquote new world. And I'm not talking about the split or anything. I'm talking about we will be fully the grids and the patterns will be fully locked in, and they'll be unchangeable. And we'll never go back to where we were before. We'll never have to experience this again, unless they're doing like the I Love Lucy show.
Right. Well, a couple of things I wanted to bring up about. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the birth certificates again. There's going to have to be enough people making that template. That's a template of owning the birth certificates. That's why they say it doesn't take a whole lot, but there's going to have to be enough people to do that, to create that template for the rest of humanity.
All right.
Yeah, so I guess I have to go and figure that one out and do that myself.
All right. I'd love to hear.
The second thing is, imagine going back to that template in Escondido, and you're standing before the Orion Council, and they're saying, okay, you've given us what you agreed to do to take ownership of yourselves and your emotions and the consequences of your actions. And you've also agreed not to seek revenge if you screw up, damage your planet, and you've given us permission, come in and annihilate you because you've already shown you can't handle it. Put you in or put you in prison again, one or the other, right? Now, are you going to just take them at their word, or are you going to make them give you some kind of certificate, some kind of written document stating that they agree to those terms?
Do you think that they would do it?
I'm asking you, if you were standing in there and you were part of the humans.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It has to be in writing.
Okay, that's your birth certificate.
Okay. How
many of you want that documentation?
Yay. Well, it's interesting because I don't even think I actually have one. I have a certificate of live birth, but I don't think I ever actually got, because I was born overseas. I was born in Morocco. And from what I was told was that you have to have, when your parent gets back, they go and have a birth certificate done in where they were, and you have to be presented. She had to present us and get our birth certificates, and my memory is that never happened. So I'm not really sure. Anyway.
Well, again, it's like, who wants the documentation to stand on? Because then you can wave this in their face. And who is going to go, well, I'm just going to take them at their word? That's really a choice you have to make.
Mm-hmm.
It's really up to you.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Enough on that then.
Okay.
Purpose of the systems. Everybody whines about the systems, right? Take this step back. If you're going to create systems to run a planet and control a bunch of people who are not quite ready to take ownership of themselves, I would say they've done a pretty decent job.
Actually, they've done an excellent.
Because now we're able to hijack those systems and use them. We don't have to start from scratch.
And another thing that they were really excellent at is investing.
Yeah.
I mean, those accounts are worth who knows how much money. And if it wasn't for their ability to make those trades and invest, they actually did a tremendous service for us. If you look at it from that perspective, because we would have nothing to inherit had they not done that?
So as a controlling parent or guardian, they were guardians.
Right.
They invested in our future. And they controlled it until now we are ready to take it back without taking revenge on them for controlling it.
Right.
They took our funds, they took our worth, and they invested it. And now that we are ready, we will have something to use to enter a new reality. So the dog ultimately served the light.
And the whole thing was a game in the first place, something that we wrote together at one point in time, which is playing itself to a new beginning, like the Ouroboros in a way, right?
Right. So now I want you to take notice, how you feel in your heart right now. How do you feel right now as we just said all that? Do you feel light?
It feels,
yes. Are you grateful to them?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You all just achieved the point of neutrality.
Yeah,
you just created a template on this call.
This
awesome for you. You rock.
Yes.
So now you know when Heather says all is perfect. That is perfection.
Exactly.
There is just a game.
That's it.
And every soul's playing their role beautifully. And it all flowed. And here we are today.
That's right.
We will have money to enter a new reality, to step out of the matrix, and we will be able to then take the RV money when it comes, and we will be able to rebuild because we reclaimed ourselves. We are not owned by them anymore. We have the documentation to prove it, and they will honor that.
Jelaila, if you are doing the whole birth certificate thing, I would really admonish you to look at the OPPT filings, and especially the IM documents, because as you were going through, you were talking about reclaiming your being, reclaiming your finance. All of those documents address each of those individually. And if you take a look at especially the IM documents, you've already seen the factual trust, but the IM documents really, when I first read them, when I first read the OPPT filings, in the energy of them hit me so hard.
Me too.
So hard. I remember I was sitting here with my friends and they were complaining because I was on Skype all the time, doing meetings and doing conference calls and preparing Opal tours and things like that. That they were starting to feel a little neglected, and I told them, I was like, I feel like if I don't do this, I'll die. Like that's literally how it felt. Like if I don't do this, I'm going to die. You know, my life depended on it.
Well, I feel like you are one of on the tip of the spear with that, and I will acquiesce to you on that because I saw that back when it happened, and when I tuned in about it, and they go, "Yep, that's the first step," but the door isn't ready, and so I let it go, but I was all excited to see that. But yeah, it's like, all right, you're asking me to go do that. You better send me somebody who knows this stuff.
Well, now you got somebody who knows this stuff big time.
Yeah, so I will follow your lead if that's okay with you, Bob.
Please, anytime. I sent you a contact request on Skype, so if you ever want to reach me here, you can.
Okay. So...
and you have my phone number, so...
Yes. The most important thing I think that I would like to have everybody take away from this call is to understand the game and realize that it's about more than the money. It's about getting out of the matrix. It's about ending a universal game. It's about being able to go on and start a new universe. It's about being able to step up as souls who can now run a universe. We are now, when we come out of this, when we finish this, we'll not only be the peacekeepers of the galaxy, we will be ready to start a universe, some of us.
The architects.
And we'll start our own game.
Right.
And this is this is the biggest. There's just no words to describe this time. It's the best of the best and the worst of the worst. It's all of it together. And I wouldn't miss it for anything.
Yeah.
Well, that's why there's 7.5 billion of us here.
Yes, it's like everybody lined up to get in. We want to be here at the very end. We want to take our last opportunity. This is the last opportunity in a free will zone to create total heaven or total hell, to work out the most difficult things that we had left over as souls that we haven't been able to achieve.
It's like standing in the center atom of the paradox.
Yes,
everywhere.
Exactly. Exactly. So here we are at the end, and we've got our dragon queen who gave us our passport, you know, and we have to do a little bit of paperwork and, you know, final cleanup and then exit gracefully with compassion, thanking them on the way out.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I teach all the time.
They were going to give us our diploma and with it a big fat check.
Yeah. Perfect.
Think about that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you so much. This has been amazing.
This has been a great call. And I hope that we can share it, because I think millions of people will benefit from this information. Because what you described in the history, I tried to send the same message, but you did it in such a beautiful way.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did, Jelaila. You're an amazing being, and I am so happy that you're out of retirement.
And to bring you through, I think each one of us, Bob and I for sure have a big, you know, I don't know, connective network. And they're primed and ready for this, like thoroughly ready for this. There's not going to be much of a curve of getting to understand all of this clearly. It's just the way that you toned this and the way that you did with all of us together in this energy is, to me, it's magical and it's timely and it's perfect. So
well,
thank you.
Thank you, and I am honored to be here with all of you, and I'm so glad that we're so close to the end. We've all worked so hard for this. We've all sacrificed so much, and we're so close.
Yes.
And to think that we'll be able to go through together, and we'll come out the other end. The first thing I want to do is throw the biggest ass party I can.
I know.
You know, and we're all going to celebrate. We're all going to celebrate.
You know, I've been
wave
feeling
our diplomas and our checks, and we're all going to go out and celebrate, and that's our 2,000 years, you know.
The big after party.
The big after party. And so let's get to work, and let's work together and kind of maybe help define each other's role. Mm-hmm. And the more we can define each other's role and we can bring our piece more to the table in a very concise way, the faster this will get disseminated. That you know my piece. I think I know your piece, Judy, and Val and Bob. I certainly understand your piece, but there's other players that need to step in.
Okay.
And the key is that we don't lose sight of this on a soul level. That's the thing. We don't make it all about the money, because if we do, they'll nab us at the end, and we cannot. We've got to truly integrate the dark.
Yeah, I think you got the right people here. We've got the right people here for that. I think each one of us is, if you want to call it, hardened off to that, or really strong in just that knowingness. That the timing is perfect in that way, because if you look into any of the stuff that we do, you're going to see really the same exact flow, and I think that we're really ready for that to happen, and I'm really excited about your experience and your knowingness and what you can do to help clear up some of that. And, you know, some of that, who we are, what we're here to do.
And who to watch out for.
Yeah, okay.
And that might be a separate call, because the galaxy is a shark pit.
I've been watching
It's a shark pool.
They've
been talking to some people down here who've been talking to a lot of us, and you got to know who you're dealing with out there. And I'm already seeing people get tripped up.
Yep. I've been seeing some people come out lately with some things that are obviously meant to do just that.
Right. There's a lot of booby traps.
Yep.
At the very end, lots of booby traps, and
Yep.
you got to learn how to navigate. I mean, I've got to know like Heather knows the booby traps in the legal system. You got to know the booby traps in the galaxy. And,
cool.
Well, there's a lot of that going on right now with the whole race issue in Charlottesville, trying to trigger people. You know, these real sensitive points that we've had throughout our history.
Yes.
Are being triggered right now.
There are also savior figures coming in who are offering solace, but through they're just creating another trap system. I'm noticing that as well.
They are, and there's a lot of people who are going to come in as channels saying that they're, this, that, and the other. You got to know what you're dealing with, right, or you will get sucked in, and you'll be their goal is to divide and conquer,
right,
and to lead astray and to derail.
That's right.
They derailed a lot of people when the whole awakening after 1987 happened. They successfully derailed lots of star seeds with the concept of if it's spiritual, it should be free.
Yeah.
In other words, if you go into the spiritual work, you can't charge for your services. So you saw people leaving $80,000, $100,000 a year jobs going in to be a spiritual teacher, and the next thing you know, they're living on the street. Successfully derailed. So 4D was full of all kinds of booby traps. Got a whole bunch of them.
Yeah, and they're all kind of coming in all at one time right now, too. So that's what this whole,
right,
all this time that we've had for discernment and really being able to listen to the body, feel the energies, and get into that fully sensation. And I think, again, everybody here is...
Yeah, just turn on your bullshit detector and use it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we're going to have a lot of interesting opportunity for conversation to flesh out a lot of this too, if you'd all, interested in doing that. Because I think right now is the time for that, really being able to bring this stuff out. So we'll talk about, when we can do that, and maybe somebody can help me organize, because I'm not great at organizing, but I can do the rest, and maybe I will be able to. Who knows?
Well, I'm going to volunteer Val because she's awesome at that.
Well, perfect. And I love Val. So
Val, I'm sure you can call and cuss me out later, okay?
I actually, you know what? We're at the farm. I've got the time. I can organize. I can organize. I can energize. Techie stuff isn't always my best thing, but I can feel my way through it and ask for help. So
how perfect is that?
Yeah, I'd love to have a dialogue like this again. This will generate a lot of questions too. It is my hope also that we can make this public, because this is, like you said, it's a template, but it's also a triggering out.
Okay.
Conversation.
I also just got a confirmation from Heather. She said she's fine with sharing all of the information, especially about her dragon hair.
Yeah.
Cool.
Okay, good. Because that was one of my concerns about sharing, is that she hasn't been given us permission to share her heritage.
Well, it's
so
interesting,
I didn't want to offend her.
Because Julian Wells, before he crossed over, told me very clearly that I have dragon lineage myself. So.
Oh, yeah. Oh, it's all over you, girl.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah. It's all over you. I saw your video. Oh, another one.
Cool. Well, I'd love to hear more about that, too, sometime. So we'll go into that as well. I think we've done really beautifully right now for the day. That was so much, and it was so rich. So I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording right now, at least, and thank everybody for coming together and for listening to the calls, and we're doing this. This is what we're meant to do, right? This is it.
Yeah.
Yeah.